Good morning. I'm out in the woods in St. Clair County to take a look at species that are blooming mid-July right now. There are quite a lot of summer bloomers that you can find on the edge of woods, along roadsides. Usually when you get deep in the woods, there's not much blooming anymore, so make sure you take a look along woodland edges to find the really cool species that are blooming right now. I have this one here behind me, which this is known as purple Joe Pieweed. It's Eutrochium purpureum. It's a tall species. It can get easily up to 6 feet tall. It has these pretty colored purplish pink flowers that are very frilly looking on the flower head at the top of the plant. And you can see that the plant actually has leaves in whorls. So that means that the leaves all come out from one point on the stem. And that's what we call a whorl. So sometimes this plant has 4 or 5 leaves, and it forms these big colonies like you can see behind me. It's really cool. In the late summer into the early fall, the flowers are replaced by the seed that has a white chaff to it, so they look even puffier. And then the seed is wind dispersed. So it's a really cool one. If you can find it, there's a few other species in Illinois and Missouri, but this one here is purple Joe Pieweed. All right, I got a few species here at this trusty roadside woods edge of woods location. It's really nice to watch it change throughout the season because it has so many blooming species in different seasons. Our first one here is this really pretty dark purple flower that has 5 petals. This is American bellflower. It's Campanulaceae americanum. It is a tall plant that branches occasionally. You can see this one's coming off the same plant down here. And it has the flower spike at the top. It blooms from the bottom, working its way upward. So we have spent flowers here that are now developing seed, a few that are in bloom right now, and then the flower buds for the next ones to bloom. It can be really large and bushy. If it gets a lot of sun, it can do very well. It's really cool. It's what you think of as an open woods, savanna, or edge of woods plant. Classic middle of the summer flowering plant that you'll see along a lot of roadsides. It's a really pretty native one. The next one that we have is really unique. I've showed you this one before. It is a hemiparasitic plant, meaning that it photosynthesizes, which is why the leaves of it are green, but it also parasitizes the roots of oak trees. So we're under the canopy of a lot of oaks right now, and this plant's doing really well. There's a big colony of it. You can see uphill all the yellow flowers. So this is Dasystoma macrophylla, which is mullein foxglove. If we look, if I can zoom in well enough at the flowers, it's a little bit windy, really hairy petals. That's what makes this one Dasystoma versus Aurelia, which is another hemiparasite on oak species with yellow flowers that looks really similar. But this one's really pretty. It's really neat. It's a tall plant growing 6.5 feet tall sometimes. It's really cool. I would say it's a pretty conservative species. It requires very particular requirements. Like I said, the oaks are really important. The leaves at the base kind of get purplish at times, highly dissected. But you see there's a lot of variability from the leaves at the base of the plant as you work up towards the flowers. Really cool one, Dasystoma macrophylla. Then I'm going to take just a few more steps down to another pretty conservative species. Just like the Joe Pieweed, this one has leaves in whorls. So 4 leaves with this species that come out at the same point along the stem. Some of these leaves missing 2 leaves here, and then we're getting to the flowering head. And we can see this really pretty Selene species flower. This one's Starry Campion. It technically has 5 petals. The petals are highly dissected, so they look fringe. Often blooms in July. I kind of think of it as like a firework flower. So I think, it always blooms in July. It kind of looks like a firework going off in the sky. It's really, really pretty. I would say it's widespread. It's not super common though. It does require some integrity to the habitat it grows in. Doesn't like disturbance. It's really cool. That's starry campion, another beautiful summer blooming species. All right, here's a big collection of a really cool plant in the pea family, the Fabaceae. It's known as Chamaecrista fasciculata, which is Partridge P. This is about the max height that it gets to, maybe 18 inches, 2 feet at most. It's in full bloom right now, midsummer, which is pretty typical. This one's been munched on by a deer, it looks like. But you can see it has these very large, I would say quarter size or larger flowers with 5 petals, and they often have red there in the center at the base of their petals, and these really big brownish anthers. It looks like it would be a pea family plant. It's got this medium green color. You can see the kind of ovalish shaped leaves. It's herbaceous. It's an annual plant, so it doesn't get woody at all. You see these along the roadsides, wet ditches, prairie areas, a lot of power line and pipeline clearings. This one can do quite well. It puts off a lot of seed, as annuals typically do. It's really pretty, and it's a good native plant. All right, here's our final species to take a look at. This is what I would consider a really common woodland plant that really does well in the shaded areas. It is Ageratina altissimum. This is white snake root. It typically grows 3-4 feet tall. I don't think I ever see it get taller than about 4 feet. It can totally blanket the forest floor sometimes. It does quite well. This is the plant known to be toxic, causing milk sickness. So if cows or goats or sheep eat this, the toxins in the plant accumulate in the milk and can make you very ill or kill you. This is the plant that is supposedly caused the death of Abraham Lincoln's mother. So this is white snake root. It's a plant that has opposite leaves. You can see along the stem. Leaves come off in pairs as you work your way up the stem, and then it gets a little bit bushier as we approach the flower head. This is in the sunflower family, and this is a plant that only has disc flowers, so it doesn't have the large petals. It just has the small disc flowers in this case, which are white, and they're very tiny. Remember, plants in the sunflower family are like a bouquet. Or the flowers in the sunflower family are like a bouquet of mini flowers. So if we get what we think of as a single flower separated and we look closely, we can see there's actually many, many flowers there. So each flower head is like a little bouquet, which is really neat. So this is white snake root, a really common plant that blooms midsummer, mid to late summer throughout a lot of Illinois and Missouri. All right, thanks for going on another plant hike with me. This is a really cool time at the height of summer if you can find some open woods or prairie areas, clearing areas along power line rights of ways. That's where things are blooming during the summertime, usually not in the deep dark woods like behind me. So thanks for joining along.